Let's talk about hiring. It's one of the most critical things any organization does, but let's be honest, it can also be one of the most frustrating. So today, we're going to dig into a whole new way of thinking about it, a philosophy called the strategy of prevention. It's all about breaking that painful, expensive cycle of hiring and rehiring so you can build a truly great team from the ground up. Okay, let's kick things off with a statement that's probably going to sound familiar, whether you're the one doing the hiring or the one looking for a job. You know the usual drill, right? Someone leaves the team and the immediate reaction is, okay, we need a replacement. But what if that very first thought is the root of the problem? The core idea we're exploring today starts right here. If your hiring strategy relies on replacement, it's already broken. Now, that's a pretty bold statement, isn't it? It suggests that the way most companies handle hiring isn't just a little inefficient, it's fundamentally flawed, right from the very start. So what does this broken system actually look like in the real world? Well, it's a vicious cycle that we call the replacement trap. Let's spend a minute exploring what this reactive way of hiring is all about. This brings us to a really fundamental question that every leader should be asking. Are you genuinely building a team with an eye on the future, or are you just stuck in a loop of replacing people as they leave? The difference between those two things is, well, it's everything. It's the difference between real growth and just treading water. And this is exactly what that cycle looks like, right? It's like a frantic hamster wheel. A position opens up, a little bit of panic sets in, and the mad dash begins. You dust off an old job description, you start screening resumes for keywords, and the interviews are all laser-focused on one thing, plugging the immediate hole. The goal isn't to find the best person for the long haul, it's just to get a warm body in that empty chair as fast as possible. So what's the big deal? What are the actual consequences of this approach? Why does this old way of hiring ultimately fail so many businesses? Well, it's because this relentless focus on a quick fix completely ignores the very real and often hidden costs of this broken system. And the damage is significant. We're not just talking about the cost of a job ad. We're talking about projects getting delayed. We're talking about the rest of your team getting burned out trying to pick up all the slack. Your company culture starts to feel unstable, like a revolving door. And just think about the sheer amount of knowledge and experience that walks out that door every single time someone leaves. That quick fix ends up being incredibly expensive in the long run. Ultimately, it really comes down to this choice. On one hand, you've got the replacement trap. It's like constantly patching holes in a leaky boat. It's reactive, it's short-term, and it's exhausting. On the other hand, you have strategic building. This is more like designing and building a sturdy ship from the start. It's a proactive, long-term investment that leads to strength and stability. One path leads to high turnover and cultural drift, the other leads to high retention and cultural strength. So, this brings us to the solution, the alternative path, the prevention philosophy. And I want to be clear, this isn't just a new tactic or some hiring hack, it's a fundamental shift in how you think about talent, people, and growth. The entire philosophy can be summed up in this one simple idea. Prevention beats recovery. You know, we understand this intuitively in other areas of life. It's better to maintain your car than to fix it after a breakdown. It's better to focus on your health now than to manage a crisis later. The exact same logic applies to building a great team. It is far, far more effective to prevent talent gaps in the first place than it is to scramble to recover from them. So what does this look like in the real world? The prevention philosophy is a strategy. It's about being proactive, looking ahead, and building the talent and capabilities you're going to need before you're in a crisis. You're creating such a strong foundation that the chaotic reactive hiring cycle just doesn't happen as often. This strategy really stands on three pillars. First up is foundational alignment. This means you're hiring for the company's long-term vision, not just for a short-term skill set. Second is proactive talent cultivation. This is all about identifying and nurturing potential before you even have a vacancy. You're basically building your own pipeline of great people. And third is long-term partnership. This is a huge mindset shift, moving away from a simple transaction towards a mutual journey where both the company and the employee are invested in each other's long-term growth. Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do you actually do it? How do you put this philosophy into practice? Well, this is exactly where an organization like CX25WW comes in. You can think of it as a platform that's designed to connect employers, students, and colleges, specifically to put this prevention philosophy into action. So for employers, this is a real game changer. Instead of just reactively posting jobs, you can identify and engage with promising students early on.
you can nurture a pipeline of talent that is already getting familiar with your company's vision and culture. And the result? You drastically reduce your long-term hiring costs and all the instability that comes from high turnover.
And for students and freshers, this approach is so much better than just firing off resumes into the dark. It helps you connect with companies that are genuinely invested in your long-term growth. It lets you find a career path that's truly aligned with your potential, rather than just having to take the first job that comes along. And for colleges, this model acts as a vital partner. It helps bridge that classic gap between academic theory and what the industry actually needs. By creating these direct connections to employers, colleges can ensure their students aren't just graduating with a degree, but are truly prepared for a successful, long-term career. So, as we start to wrap this up, it becomes really clear. When it comes to building your future workforce, you're really facing a choice between two very different paths. And this chart makes that choice crystal clear. You can operate with a recovery mindset, always reacting, always just filling the next gap, and constantly dealing with high turnover. Or you can adopt a prevention mindset, proactively building your team for the future, which leads to sustainable growth and high retention. It's really the difference between being a firefighter, always putting out fires, and being an architect, designing something built to last. And that brings us to the final question, one you should really ask yourself, whether you're leading a company, a team, or even just your own career. Is your strategy built for prevention, or is it stuck in a state of recovery? The answer to that question could be the key to unlocking real, sustainable success. Thanks for joining me today.